Hi, the question will appear on your screen in few seconds. Please pause this video to solve the question on your own, and once you are done, resume the video to check the solution. Here is the question. Let's start with passage analysis. Researchers hope to find clues about the ant peoples who lived in the Comta region about 1000 years ago. So these are some ant people who lived in Comta region about 1000 years ago, and researchers are trying to find clues about them. Let's read further. But, so there's a contrast. What is the contrast? Who left few obvious traces? Now, what is meant by few obvious traces? It means there are not many clues about these people, maybe where they lived, how they lived. There are just few obvious traces. All right. So, from this line, I can say that these are the researchers. Their goal is to find clues about these ant people. The problem is, the hindrance is that there are few obvious traces. All right, let's read further. The researchers plan to hire the few remaining shamans of the modern day indigenous people in Comta. So now we are talking about their plan because there are few obvious traces. Maybe they cannot find anything directly or there is not enough. They are planning to hire the few remaining shamans. So what is the plan? The plan is to hire shamans. Now, what we get to know about them is they are few remaining shamans. So it's not that there are many shamans. There are few remaining shamans of the modern day indigenous people, so people who belong to Comta. Out of them, the shamans who are there, the researchers plan to hire them. All right, who are believed to be descended from the Am. So what do we know about shamans? These shamans are one thing believed to be descended from Am. Now notice the word believed. It is not something that is definitely true. So they may or may not have descended from Ang people, but if they have descended, if this belief is true, if they've descended from Ang people, then they are the descendants. They may know something about these people, and that is why maybe they can help. So let's check the logic. So, okay, so the plan is to hire them to lead them to ancestral sites that may be the remains of AMP buildings or ceremonial spaces. So the plan is to hire shamans. They will take these researchers to ancestral sites, to their own ancestral sites. Now, it says these ancestral sites may be am buildings or ceremonial spaces. Now, the word maybe is important here because these shamans are believed to be descended from Am. That is why their ancestral sites may be Am sites. If they are not actual descendants of Am people, then their ancestral sites will not be Am sites. All right, let's read further. Okay, the shamans were taught the location of such sites. Which sites? Ancestral sites, as part of their traditional training as youths. So, this is something that we get to know about shamans, that they were taught locations of such sites in their youth. And that is why we are saying that these shamans can take the researchers to the ancestral sites. That is why this connection has been made. All right. And their knowledge of traditional Comta customs may help determine the nature of any sites the researchers find. So, they have knowledge of the local customs, Comta customs. So, that will help determine nature of sites, and that is how the researchers will be able to find these clues about the ant people. So the logic is very clear here. The researchers are planning to hire shamans because they are believed to be descended from the Ang people. So there seems to be a logical connection. Plus, they have been taught the location of ancestral sites in their youth. So these shamans can take the researchers to the ancestral sites. Now, if they have descended from Ang people, these ancestral sites would be Ang buildings or ceremonial spaces. And then the shaman's knowledge of Comta custom that will help determine nature of site, and that is how the researchers will get clues about these ant people. So the logic is also clear. Now, where are the logical gaps? So the plan is to hire shamans. No issues here, right? This works. They will take them to ancestral sites. Here we know that why or how will they be able to take the researchers to ancestral sites based on the knowledge that they got in their traditional training in youth. What if they do not remember these sites? Whatever they have learned in their training, they have forgotten. So that is the first logical gap. If they have forgotten what they were taught, they will not be able to take the researchers to the ancestral sites. All right. Now, the second thing, that these may be AMP building. Even if they take them to ancestral sites, what if this belief is incorrect? And these ancestral sites are not actually the AMP sites. The belief is incorrect and they are not descendants. So the ancestral sites are not the actual AMP buildings. And third, what if even if the knowledge can help determine the nature of sites, it does not provide enough clues to the researchers to get to know about AMP people. So these are the logical gaps. Now, the question stem says which of the following is an assumption on which the success of the plan depends. So the plan becomes our conclusion. So our conclusion is that researchers will find clues about the ant people through the shamans. And how can we negate it? The negated conclusion will be researchers will not be able to find clues about the ant people through the shamans. With this, let's update our bridge table. So if your understanding of the passage logic as well as the conclusion was correct, you can mark tick here. Otherwise, if you faltered anywhere, let's say you did not understand the passage logic, you misinterpreted something, you misread something, so you can mark a cross here and you can write down the exact reason here. Similarly, if you did not identify the conclusion correctly or you did not understand the meaning correctly, mark a cross here and write down the exact reason why that happened. This will be your root cause analysis for passage understanding and conclusion understanding. With that, let's understand what the correct answer choice needs to convey. Now, we know that assumption is a must be true condition, which means that if the assumption is not true, the conclusion will fail. Now, what is the assumption doing based on this understanding? The assumption is preventing the conclusion from breaking, which means that if there is any situation in which the conclusion can break, there will be one correct assumption that will make sure that that situation does not happen. So, in other words, correct assumption eliminates one condition under which the conclusion would fail. So from here, we get the first characteristic of our answer choice. What would the correct answer choice convey? It would convey something that will eliminate one condition under which the conclusion will break. Also, it will bring in a new piece of information. So that is what the correct answer choice will convey. Now, our negated conclusion is that researchers will not be able to find clues about the ant people through the shamans. So if we substitute this negated conclusion here, we see that the correct answer choice will eliminate one condition which conveys that researchers will not be able to find clues about the ant people through the shamans, and it will bring in a new piece of information. So now if you pre-think, you can consider any scenario here. You can think of one scenario and you can negate that scenario, you can eliminate that scenario, and that would be a correct assumption if as long as it brings in new piece of information. So for example, one scenario can be that these shamans do not remember what they were taught in their training as youth. So this is a condition which conveys that researchers will not be able to find clues about the Ankh people through the shamans. So what will the correct assumption do? The correct assumption will eliminate it. So it will say that shamans remember what they were taught in the training as youth, in what they learned or what they were taught in their training as youth, and it definitely brings in new information. So this would be a correct assumption. Now, even if you do not pre-think, you have a clear understanding of what you should be expecting from the correct answer choice, so you can directly proceed to answer choice analysis. First, let's update our bridge table. So if you were able to identify correctly what the correct answer choice needs to convey, mark a tick here. Otherwise, if you could not identify it or you do not perform this step, then mark a cross here and write down the exact reason. Your corrective action will depend on this particular reason here. With this, let's move to answer choice analysis. Choice A. The researchers have reliable evidence that the Ankh of 1000 years ago built important ceremonial spaces. So this choice says that the researchers that we are talking about, they have reliable evidence. They have reliable evidence that the Ankh of 1000 years ago, these people about the researchers are trying to find clues about these people. So they actually built important ceremonial spaces. They have reliable evidence. That is what choice A conveys. Let's see if it eliminates one condition which conveys that researchers will not be able to find clues about ant people through the shamans. So for that, we will negate choice A. If the negated choice breaks the conclusion, it would mean that the original choices must be true, and we can just check if this choice brings in new information. If it does, it would be correct. If, on the other hand, the negated choice does not break the conclusion, it would mean that the original choice is not must be true, and you can reject the choice right away. You do not need to check for this second characteristic. So let's see if the negated choice A breaks the conclusion or not. The researchers do not have reliable evidence that the Ankh of 1000 years ago built important ceremonial spaces. Now, even if they do not have reliable evidence, it does not mean that these people did not build those spaces, right? The logic is that shamans will take them to these sites, and from there they will get clues. So the important thing is that Ankh should have built these kinds of spaces. The evidence, whether they have evidence, whether the researchers have evidence or not, is not important. Even if they do not have a reliable evidence, they can still find those sites and get clues. And that is why this choice does not break the conclusion. This scenario is applicable, which means that the original choice is not must be true, and you can reject choice A. Now, if you selected choice A, it's important to update your bridge table. So, you could have made a mistake here in these steps, or you could have made a mistake in these two steps. If you selected an incorrect answer choice A, for example, did you understand the meaning of choice A? This is what this step means. If you did not understand meaning of choice A properly, that was one of the reasons why you selected incorrect answer choice, and you need to find out why you did not understand the meaning of choice A. Was there any difficulty in that choice, or did you just completely skip that choice, understanding the meaning, or whatever it was? The second thing is gauging the alignment, that you already know what the correct answer choice needs to convey. Did you match it with choice A? That is choice A doing 1, is choice A doing 2? Did you match it? If you did, then probably you did not do it properly. If you skipped it, then it is a process gap. You need to do that while evaluating each and every answer choice. So these would be your root causes behind selecting the incorrect answer choice. With that, let's move to choice B now. Choice B. The shamans have a reasonably accurate memory of AMC sites they learned about as youths. So this choice is saying that the shamans that are being discussed, they have reasonably accurate memory. That is, they have a reliable kind of memory of these AMP sites that they learned about as youths. This is very similar to what we also thought, that they remember what was taught to them during their training as youth. So that is what choice B is saying. Let's see if it eliminates one condition which conveys that researchers will not be able to find clues through the shamans. So negated choice B is that the shamans do not have has been converted to do not have. The shamans do not have a reasonably accurate memory of the AMP sites they learned about as youths. So this negated choice indicates that because they do not have a reasonable accurate memory, it means they will not be able to take these researchers to those sites, right? If they do not have that memory, then in the logic we saw that they were being able to take the researchers to those sites because of this training. But if they don't remember this, how will they take the researchers to those sites? If they are not able to take the researchers to those sites, how will the researchers find those clues using the shamans? So that is why this choice, negated choice B, it breaks the conclusion. So let's see if this choice brings a new piece of information. Definitely yes. This is something that the passage does not tell us, that the shamans have a reasonably accurate memory. So this choice brings in a new piece of information. It eliminates one condition under which the conclusion can fail, and that is why choice B is the correct answer choice. Now, if you rejected choice B, again, it is important to update your bridge table. Understand why you rejected the correct answer choice. Did you not understand the meaning of correct answer choice, or did you not understand that it is actually it has those two characteristics? What happened? You have to write down the reason here so that you can take the required corrective action. With that, let's move to choice C now. Choice C. Comta shamans are generally held in high esteem for their traditional knowledge. So this is a general thing about these Comta shamans, that they are held in high esteem for the traditional knowledge that they have. So people value them, people respect them for their traditional knowledge. That is what choice C conveys. Let's see if it eliminates one condition which breaks the conclusion. So for that, we will negate choice C. Negated choice C is that Comta shamans are generally not held in high esteem for their traditional knowledge. That is, people do not value them a lot for their traditional knowledge. Okay. Does that mean that researchers will not be able to find clues about ant people through the shamans? The answer is no. If you thought that people not respecting them for their traditional knowledge means that they do not have traditional knowledge, that is not correct. Even if people do not respect them for their traditional knowledge or hold them in the high esteem for their traditional knowledge, they may still have very accurate traditional knowledge, and they can take the researchers to these AMP sites and researchers may be able to find the clues. So that is why negated choice C does not break the conclusion, which indicates that original choice C is not must be true and we can reject it. If you selected choice C, then understand where did you falter and go and update your bridge table. Let's move to choice D now. Choice D. Modern technologies available to the researchers are likely to be able to find some AMP sites easily. So, this is about modern technologies that the researchers have. So, it is saying that these technologies are likely to be able to find some of these sites easily. That is what choice D says. Let's see if it eliminates one condition that breaks the conclusion. So, we will negate choice D. Negated choice D is modern technologies available to the researchers are unlikely to be able to find some AMP sites easily. Now, does that mean that researchers will not be able to find clues about AMP people through the shamans? No, they are using the shamans. Whether these technologies can help them find sites easily or not is not very relevant here. They are anyway trying to take help from shamans. Now, shamans can guide them. If shamans can guide them properly, then they may actually find those sites. So, negated choice D does not break the conclusion, and that is why original choice D is not must be true. And you can reject choice D. Now again, if you selected choice D, go back to your bridge table and update it. Write down the exact reason where you faltered while evaluating choice D. Let's move to choice E now. Most or all AMP sites are likely to be found within the COMTA region. So most means greater than 50% or all, that is 100%. They are likely to be found within the COMTA region. That is most to all. Anywhere between 50 to 100% of these AMP sites are likely to be found within the COMTA region. That is what choice E says. Let's see if it eliminates one condition that breaks the conclusion. So, negated choice E is most or all AMP sites are unlikely to be found within the COMTA region. What does that mean? It is very important to understand this negation. Most or all AMP sites are unlikely. So, unlikely means less possibility. It is not saying that it is impossible, but it is just saying that the probability is less. It is unlikely to happen. What is unlikely to happen? It is unlikely that most or all AMP sites will be found in this region. It is not saying that no site will be found in this region. No site in COMTA region. That is one interpretation, and that is an incorrect interpretation. The correct interpretation is that most or all COMTA, most or all sites are unlikely to be found in COMTA region. This is the correct interpretation. What does it mean? It means that there still can be at least one site in this region. It is not eliminating the scenario in which there is no site in COMTA region, and that is why I mentioned that this particular interpretation is incorrect. So negated choice E is saying that most or all sites may not be found in COMTA region. However, it is not eliminating the scenario in which there is at least one site. And as long as there is at least one site, the researchers may be able to find them with the help of shamans. And that is why the negation of choice E does not break the conclusion, which means that original choice E is not must be true and we can reject it. Now, if you selected choice E, please go and update your bridge table. And this is an important learning here, that how would you negate this kind of choice? What kind of mistakes you made in this question? Hope you will be able to take the corrective actions for these mistakes and not repeat these mistakes in the other questions. If you need any help deciding the corrective actions, do let us know.